Thanks so much for coming out. You guys are an amazing audience. Without further ado, let's introduce the guys. Willie McGee, Romeo Travis, Sian Cotton. Let's get little Dru Joyce, not so little anymore. Coach Dru, and Lebron James.
What's that?
All right, again, want to thank everybody for being here, and once again, a round of applause for Chris and this great group that he did this with. We obviously have a lot of folks up here, and we want to get to as much as we can, so I don't think we're going to get a chance to take questions from the audience. We're going to try to get as much as you would like to know about the film in as quickly as we can. I want to start with Chris, and I know you talked a little bit before the film about how you came to this project, but can you just tell us a little bit more about how this all came to be?
Yeah, I was a junior in college at the time, and I signed up for an introduction to documentary filmmaking class. And honestly, being from the Midwest, you move to LA, and a lot of your classmates and the friends you meet, they make fun of you right away from being from Ohio. You know, you guys, they make fun of you for being from the Midwest. They assume you're a farmer. So I kind of set out and said, I'm going to make my class project, which was a 10-minute project. I wanted to do something from my hometown. So I approached the school and coach and said, this is what I want to do. I'm just trying to get a 10-minute project done. And coach said I could come to one practice and get what I needed. And that practice came and went, and I kind of just showed up to the next one, and I kind of just showed up to the one after that. And honestly, I just kept showing up for the next, I don't know, like 6-7 years. I mean, I don't know. I just kept popping up with cameras, and these guys never shoved me away, so I just kept at it.
And guys, anytime you want to jump in, even if I direct the question to one of you, if anybody wants to jump in. I guess my first question watching this, I mean, it's obviously, it's a feel-good story. I think it's probably the best documentary of its kind since Hoop Dreams. It's very inspirational. But for each of you, there are various pitfalls along the way, whether it's Dru's problems with his father and some of the relationships of Romeo at first feeling like, these guys are shutting me out. Willie finding out that, he's not going to be starting. Sian deciding that he's going to have to go more for the football. Was it hard for any of you guys, and of course LeBron then, having more and more attention directed on him, was it hard for any of you guys at any point to watch this, or did you feel there was stuff you didn't want to relive when you saw the final product?
Well, the first time we screened it in Toronto at a film festival, all of us were together. Sian wasn't there, but he was playing football at his college. And it was the first time we had seen it together in front of a live crowd. When we first debuted in Toronto, and emotionally, it just got to all of us. I mean, we couldn't hold back our emotions from basically just living. I mean, even though we lived every moment, it was putting us back in those present times. Like, when you guys seen Dru hit all those threes, in the state finals. It was like we was just like right there once again. Or you seen me getting eligible. It was like I was in that moment once again, and everything that went through in our lives, we was basically reliving it when we seen it together. So it's very emotional anytime we watch it, especially with a live audience, because it's good to see other people's reaction while the movie's going on.
You guys surprised by some of the reaction? I mean, some of the things that, there's certain lines there, obviously, that people are going to laugh at, but some of the other things, there's a lot of personal stuff there. Your family members are on look at the size of this screen. This isn't like a whole movie all of a sudden. I mean, has there been anybody in your family said, geez, I wish they had shown more of this, or I felt I wasn't fairly depicted, or something you feel was left out for the director's cut?
Well, yeah, my younger son, who's in the film, he's really upset with Chris because Chris was supposed to interview him and he never did. So Cameron, he's boycotting the film right now. So.
I'm saving it for the sequel. It's going to be awesome.
I know about me and my brother. My brother was a little upset that they showed us, the little entertainment outfits.
Talking about when you was wearing the pink?
No, I was a performer. We was performing.
Like, you was a ballerina.
Don't get it twisted.
You was a ballerina.
Nah, I was a performer.
Was it two-tone?
Entertainer.
No, like Michael Jackson is a performer. Like Usher is a performer. Like you was like a ballerina.
I don't think we've seen those two colors in the universe since then together.
Well, that's why he original. That's why who he is.
I don't even know what those colors. It's a sort of a teal cranberry thing. I mean, it's not easy to pull that off.
It's not easy to pull it off, but like I said, we were entertaining. We were entertaining. I can't stress that enough.
Talk a little bit about, I mean, the arc you have here, because as a filmmaker, you want to tell a lot of stories here. I mean, you've got 6 or 7 stories all happening at once in different dramatic arcs, and you must have had dozens, if not hours, of footage. And was it hard? I mean, was there stuff you felt you left on the cutting room floor that you wish people had seen? How did you put that all together?
It was difficult. I mean, when all said and done, we probably had 600 or 700 hours of footage to look through and to go through, and so many different interviews. And as you can see with these guys on stage, they're all entertaining. I mean, almost everything they say you want to put on the screen. So there are a lot of things that, you know, little anecdotes or jokes that maybe they didn't serve the overall story that kind of got left on the cutting room floor. But I don't know, honestly, the structure was, you know, each of their individual stories just lent itself to a different part of the main story of these guys and their quest for a national championship. And you know, as a filmmaker, I was kind of blessed because they had all these natural pitfalls. You know, I mean, all of a sudden they're unstoppable, and then LeBron's suspended, and you know, the part of me that's grown close to him and the guys feels a little bit bad for him. But then the filmmaker part of me is like, oh, this is pretty juicy. This is kind of cool, you know. And like, I mean, even the fact that they were down at halftime of the big game. I mean, I don't even know if these guys were as nervous in that locker room as I was, because I had about 600 or 700 hours of footage that could have gone to waste if they didn't pull through. So, I mean.
That was the most associated.
Are you saying you would have gone into the other locker room and said, hey guys, want to be in a movie?
No, basically he used us. He used us for footage, but you know, that's why we liked him.
Welcome to Hollywood. What about some of the stuff like, you know, Dru had his junior year, the technical foul there, that was, you know, a huge thing, kind of was the backbreaker. And then we got a scene in practice where there seemed to be a little coach point guard problems there. Was there ever a moment when you felt like, hey, let's turn the cameras off, this is getting too private? You got LeBron saying to Dru, hey, point guard here, why don't you listen, and that kind of stuff. No, not that I remember any specific lines.
Honestly, you know, Chris was really good at staying in the background. You know, we just lived our lives, and I wasn't thinking about the camera or anything. You know, it's just, you know, we were interacting the way we would have interacted had there not been a camera in the room. So, you know, that's just how we went at each other. And I'm sure, you know, Dru would love to have that ball he threw at the rim back, but you know, that's who he is. So we had to live with that too. So,
and I think part of that was just the fact that at the time, I was just a film student, so, you know, I was a junior and senior in college. They just assumed I was this kid, you know. They called me the cameraman. I don't even know if they knew. When did you guys learn my name? Like 2 years ago or something?
No, like 3 months ago.
I mean, it was camera. I mean, I get emails from them that say, hey, cameraman, what's up? This is cameraman, that. I mean, I was just a kid with the camera, you know, doing his homework, so I don't think that they naturally, I don't think they, you know, felt conscious about what I was shooting. I think that allowed me to get a lot of raw stuff, because they thought, you know, oh, no one's ever going to see this footage. It's, you know, he's just doing his homework. So,
and this is, you know, these guys, this generation, they all grow up with cameras around them and used to the access, because you guys are awfully comfortable, almost too comfortable, I think, sometimes on camera. But like you said, we're talking about born performers, but it's also a gold mine for you, because you obviously had access to a lot of home footage, so we got to see Dru's 7 3-pointers when these kids were, what, 14 years old.
I had an incredible amount, and you know, Coach Dru's wife, Mrs. Joyce, taped I mean, hours and hours of footage of those
every
kids.
game from 11 years old.
Yeah, and so I mean, I was so lucky to get that footage, and it's funny because that was a process. Like I remember, I called Coach and say, "Hey, I really need some footage of the guys when they're in 4th, 5th grade." And Coach would send like 5 tapes, and he's like, "I think that's it, Chris. I think that's it." And I'd be like, "Well, can you look again? Can you look again?" And like 3 or 4 months would go by, and he'd say, "Oh, I found like 45 tapes in the corner of the basement," and he'd send them over. And then 4 months later would go by, and he's like, "Oh, I looked in another corner of the basement. I found like 50 more tapes." So I don't know how many corners of the basement this guy has, but they had so many tapes they donated.
It's a gold mine of stuff. Now, obviously, you know, as the story goes on, right around the time we get up to about the junior year, maybe Willie could talk a little bit about this, but you guys, you were always stressing teamwork, we're a team, but then things, you know, really exploded with LeBron on the cover of Sports Illustrated and everything that came with that. Were there moments when you guys felt like we really are being treated like the supporting cast? I mean, you look at that. I was looking at the one game, the ESPN2, and they say it's LeBron James versus Oak Hill Academy, and LeBron's going up, and it felt like it was going to be a 1-on-5 game if you were listening to the announcers. Was that tough sometimes for you guys?